Nothing on the table. Nice into 15. Oh, and very late.
Welcome to Cortina Ampezzo, venue for the 2026 Winter Olympic Games, venue also for the 1956 Winter Olympics. And on a brand new venue, it is a first ever World Cup race here for men and women's skeleton. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Heat 2, the deciding run of the men's skeleton competition, World Cup number 1 of the 25-26 season. Well, what a first heat we had. We have 4 athletes covered by 1100s at the top of the tree. First man off was the World Cup champion Matt Weston, and he lies a 1/10 of a second off the lead of the race in 3rd place. Sammy Meyer of Austria, the reigning European champion, Weston is the world champion, is just 100th behind him. In 2nd place, starting 35th and last in his 2nd World Cup race in 2 years, recovering from injury, Jung Seung-gi of Korea. A really strong start, 13th quickest, but a beautiful slide to drive himself just 500ths off the lead, and that lead held by China's Yin Cheng. He started 4th quickest, but set a new track record to take the lead of the race. He was only the 7th man out of the start house and has held the lead since then. But just 500ths of a second covers the top 2, the top 4 covered by 1100. So from them, likely we are going to get our medalists. Yin Cheng, Jung Seung-gi, Matt Weston and Sammy Meyer. Just behind, Chen Wen-hao, and then look at the logjam with Rasmus Johansson, Lucas Nidegger and Austin Florian. Florian with the start record in the first heat for the USA. He was the only US slider to make it through. Germany struggled, Italy as well. Mattia Gaspari was their best slider in 19th place. So the Italians with work to do on their home track. Christopher Grote here, struggling with a muscle injury. Axel Junk, the bronze medalist in the World Championships back in Lake Placid in February. And there actually is the top Italian slider after the first, or one of the top Italian sliders after the first heat. Giovanni Marchetti actually ended up 2nd. He was ahead of all the others most of the way down the run, just slipped away towards the bottom of the track. And this Cortina's track, the Pista Olimpico Eugenio Monti, named after Cortina's most famous inhabitant, the great Eugenio Monti, multiple world Olympic champion. Monti giving his name to the track built on the footprint of the original that held the 1956 Games. So our top 25 from the first heat go in reverse order in the second. First off then will be Ukraine's Yaroslav Lavrenyuk, and then getting into the top order, start record holder Austin Florian will be 18th away. And following him down, the rest of the 25, with Yin Cheng going last to try and defend his slender lead. Heat 2, World Cup number 1, men's skeleton gets underway with Ukraine's Yaroslav Lavrenyuk, the silver medalist in the Youth Olympic Games Pyeongchang 2024. And Yaroslav in his 9th World Cup start has just turned 18, beg your pardon, his 12th World Cup start. Well, made it into the second heat in the top 25. Just had enough in hand to stay in. 481 in the first heat, 480 in the second. And what we saw a little earlier, the track was in superb condition. It's been a busy couple of weeks. There's been an awful lot of runs down from skeleton and from bobsleigh. Big long skid down at the bottom of the track. And Lavrenyuk out through a Revo, 57.80, a 10th slower than his first heat, and that's a lot of that will have gone with that big skid down at the bottom. Well, he will finish no worse than 25th place, because everybody who was 26th and below in the first heat does not get a second run. So he made the cut first time out this season. Little tap, drag down the wall, and that sends him late. And then flopping out again This is Labyrinth 3 on the run down to Belvedere. And then sweeping high out of Antelau, but a little late on the run down to Cristallo. So plenty more to tidy up before February. And for Switzerland, one of the Buff brothers made it through into the second run, the more experienced of the duo, Vincent Buff. His younger brother, Valentino, just 19, making his World Cup debut. Vincent made his debut in December 2023 at the start of the season 2 years ago. Now 24 years of age in his third World Cup season. And my friend and colleague Ken Childs, watching from Durham, North Carolina, figures that might be an ibex. I bow to his greater mountain bovine knowledge. Vincent Buff, 482 first heat, 479 in the second, so just finding a little more at the start. So he's in the green. He had 900s in hand over Jaroslav Lavrenyuk from the first heat. That is out to 1400s, out to 1800s. Nice, tidy sliding style, Vincent. He's long and lean, narrow shoulders are very good for a skeleton slider. If you imagine the shape of a fish, why it's that shape? Because it goes through liquid. Air is a slightly liquid as well. 57.56 second run, quicker than his first. So he eases away to 3300s ahead of Jaroslav Lavrenyuk. Vincent Buff will move into the leader's box. And that throws down a bit of a challenge for the next slider, with whom he was tied to the 100th of a second. Again, look at the style here. Shoulders pressed down onto the sled. And with a little more confidence in the track, the head will be down. Little bit of a skid, not too much. And again, going away from us, dropping down here. Just that little skid everybody has as the sled goes light. Not in the air, not like a jump on the old track, but just enough that it exaggerates any sideways movement. Now, the man with whom Vincent Buff was tied to the 100th is Italy's Amedeo Bagnis, silver medalist in the World Championships in St. Moritz 2 years ago. But like all of the Italians last year, struggling for form and pace. Now, he started 477, so 500s quicker only than Vincent Buff. Only the 23rd fastest start in the field, 476. So he's 300s ahead of Vincent Buff, who started 479. .200s ahead of Buff. Little late flop there out of the labyrinth, down into Belvedere and Bandion. Sun already on the track. They're going to have to bring the shades down through K2 and down into Antelau and Cristallo. Shooting the chicane. 300s. Here we go into Cristallo. Uphill through Tofana and Ampezzo. And the right-hander at Arrivo, the final corner on the track. 1300s up, 57.43. I don't suppose Amedeo Bagnis thought that he would be battling for a place at the tail of the field. Now that is how it has happened. Ideally, this is not the season in which to still be working on the equipment. This should be the final details of what you have. Out of the labyrinth there. And to Belvedere now. Belvedere into Bandion. Yeah. Not the big happy smile you would hope for from an Italian on their Olympic track. Just ahead of Amedeo was Giovanni Marchetti, second season for Giovanni. Start number 25. Finished in 16th place in Lillehammer, last World Cup race of the season last year. That's his World Cup best so far. And if he could achieve that from here, he'll be doing very well. Explosive start, 4.64 in the first heat, 4.63 in the second. So 2/10 ahead of Amadeo, but a little clatter on the wall there. Verzi into Cento, and then into Primo Labyrinthi. Second and third element of the labyrinth with the sun on them. 3/10 up from Belvedere into Bandion. And dropping down through Lino K2, named after Lino Lacedelli from Cortina, the first man to summit K2 back in 1954. Antelao Cristallo, and down into the lower reaches then, through the chicane to Tofano. Ampezzo, and then through Arrivo and across the line, 100th back. It drifted away from him. 57.54 in the first heat, 57.51 in the second. And it looked like he had an improvement, but right at the bottom, he went from 31 hundredths up early on to 100th behind. So below Antelao and Cristallo, it drifted away from him. Not a bad start. Again, sort of meandered right out of the groove. Saw that in the first heat. And then that little clump. Verzi into Cento. That will have cost him a little further down the track. All right, so Giovanni Marchetti in second place behind teammate Amadeo Banias. As we get to the first of our Chinese sliders, Lin Chen Wei. Lin, a newcomer to the World Cup last year. So this is only his 9th World Cup start. I will correct my misbrain operation yesterday, earlier on. Patrick Shannon, not Patrick Singleton, coaching the Chinese at the top. Apologies to Patricks, both Patricks. 4.60 start, Lin 4.59 in the first heat, so right in the same frame. Let's see if he can correct some of the errors from the first heat. 24 hundredths up over Amadeo Banias to 42 hundredths up. Holds that advantage. Not a bad looking run so far. After a couple of cloudy days, we had snow this morning, but sun is now breaking through the clouds. Nice low run through Cristallo. 36 hundredths up. Gaps coming down a little. Amadeo Banias held speed at the bottom, but I think that Lin is going to have the lead. He does. 57.17. And that's a big improvement. There's the Olympic mascot. 57.53 to 57.17. 57.17 for reference. 10th fastest run so far. That would have left him 100th out of 9th in the first heat. That's going to be the secret of this track, I think, in the games. Not 4 brilliant runs, but whoever has the least bad, worst run. Consistency is going to be very, very tough. We saw that in Beijing, we saw that in Pyeongchang, we saw that in Whistler. Lack of knowledge of the track means that consistency is going to be critical. So 3 or 4 8 out of 10 runs rather than 3 10 out of 10s and 1 4 out of 10 are going to make the difference. That's all for February, though. Meanwhile, Alex Slintner just 6 hundredths ahead of Lin Chen Wei. So Lin has really thrown down the gauntlet. Alex starts 4.72 in the first heat, 4.72 in the second, so 12 hundredths away at the start. So that 9 hundredths advantage is already a deficit. 16 hundredths back. gap from Lin Chen-wei, the leader, to Amadeo Banis in second place is a whopping 34 hundredths of a second. Alex Schlintner might lose a couple of places here. 20th after the first heat. And a top 20 run sounds a lot better than the top 22 run. Third place behind Lin and the two Italians, and that's possibly not a surprise. The Italians certainly should be ahead of Schlintner in terms of their knowledge of the track. Across the line, 57.83 the run, 57.47 in the first heat. So losing over 0.3 of a second and 0.6 back in fifth place. So he slips behind Vincent Spuff as well. He was disappointed with the first heat. He'll be much more disappointed with the second. Well, put it down a little late and has steered a little hard in the labyrinth. Exit here, not bad. Does he get the drift onto the straight? You can see him leaning to his right just to try and stop that slide. Disappointing day for Alex Schlintner. Next up, Mattia Gaspari from Cortina itself. The archetypal stylist of the headshots. Let's see if he can improve on a 19th place finish in the first heat. Leading into Pyeongchang, Torres Achilles, and hasn't had the speed of his youth since then. 4.79 the getaway for Mattia Gaspari. His 60th World Cup start. Fought his way back to fitness, fought his way back into the World Cup team. And despite the pace occasionally of Amadeo Banis, has predominantly been the leading light in the Italian skeleton crew. 1200s behind at the start. Amadeo's start 1900s quicker than Mattia's, and that gap is still over 1/10 of a second. Can he hunt down his teammate in the final few corners? Can he use his experience to overhaul him? No, he doesn't. 57.36. So it was a quicker run than Amadeo. And Amadeo Banis remains in second place. So Mattia Gaspari with one last little look back at the track. Lots of work to do for the Italian skeleton crew, clearly before February. They will have some time. Oh, big skid there. He just brought the nose down a fraction too early. Fighting those pressures.
Whatever.
Yeah. It is at least not February yet. Lin Chen-wei, our race leader, and our first 7 sleds down. Next up is Emils Indriksons, our new young slider from Latvia, just 19 years old. He is the youth Olympic gold medalist from Pyeongchang 2024. Started sliding in 2022 at the age of 16. Making his World Cup debut here, and with a strong run in 18th place, 14th best start. That speed will improve. Still in his teens, he will get stronger and faster. Slipping behind Amadeo Banis. And that also not to be unexpected. 2/10 back behind Banis and Mattia Gaspari and our leader Lin Chen-wei. At the moment, though, ahead of Italy's Giovanni Marchetti on his World Cup debut. Little low, That's going to cost him time. He'll be behind the Italians. He's behind Vincent Puff as well. Lin Chen-wei stays in the leader's box, but that is a good debut from Emils Indriksons of Latvia. 57.45 in the first heat, 57.73 in the second, so 1800 slower. And here, this is rising high in Primo Labyrinthi, and that means he comes out late, almost on the woodwork, flops onto the track, and that bumping around takes energy out of the sled. And here, just a little high on that first pressure. That means he drops lower, rises higher again, a little further around the corner. Didn't like that run as much. Nobody wants to lose ground, but impressive World Cup debut. Well, making a debut in the Our household during the summer, his baby daughter. So congrats to the family. Christian, a grandfather again. Florian Auer, just 900s ahead. So this is a really tight, packed field below 20th. Below 15th, as we've seen so often. 12th on down, there's barely 100th in it. 2500s back. Only a 481 start for Florian Auer. He's a better driver than he is a starter, and he needs that now. But the gap's out to 3100s. Not finding the speed he needs. 3700s. He'll be behind Emils Indriksons, maybe even behind teammate Alexander Schlitner, who's currently in 7th place. It's not going to be too far apart. Again, late flop from Florian rather. Third best run, 57.60. I beg your pardon, 6th best run. So up to 3rd place. So found speed at the bottom, as he did in that first run, but slips a couple of places behind Mattia Gaspari in 2nd and Lin Chen-wei of China still the leader. There's that late flop out of Primo Labyrinthi. That's been absolutely pivotal corner in the Olympic sliding for skeleton and for bobsleigh. If you get that right, then so much more of the run will go better. And again, little late flop down here in the lower reaches of the track. However, Lin Chen-wei of China leads after the first 9 sleds. Next up for Korea, Kim Ji-soo, 2nd fastest starter in the field with a 4:56, just 100th off the start record. Let's see if he can find a little bit more in the second getaway. It's not always easy. Like a slightly better load. 4:57, not quite as quick. And we're talking 100th of a second here. I mean, ridiculous tiny margins. A little late there from Vezzi into Sento. Sento into Primo Labyrinthi. Better exit, but they're having to take a steer to avoid the tap. Onto Labyrinthi 2. Belvedere into Bandion, and then dropping down through K2. Rettifilio, Antelau, and into Antelau itself. Quick changeover into Cristallo. 2 big looping corners, very much in the spirit of the old ones. Through Tofana. Ampezzo climbs high, comes out late. That's going to cost him up to the line, but he has the lead, 57.22. Somebody at some stage, I suppose, had to take the lead away from Lin Chen-wei, and it is Kim Ji-soo of Korea who does so. He had 2100s in hand from the first heat. 1500s is the margin at the end of the second. That little toe drag there Whether he needed it or not, he'll analyse the video later and go, "Ah, I could have got away with that." He probably knows already. And this is all the refinement of learning and learning and learning. So Kim Ji-soo leads for Korea, 10 down, 15 to go. First race of the IBSF Skeleton World Cup in Cortina. Skeleton World Cup racing in Cortina d'Ampezzo. Words I never thought I would hear myself say. So pleased to be back here in Cortina. First World Cup of the season, the pre-Olympic event. And Felix Kaisinger, 15th after the first heat. Goes a whisker quicker at the start. 4:59 in the first heat, 4:58 in the second. Out of Etsi into Cento. Nice transition, Cento to Primo Labyrinthi. Doesn't have to steer too much into Secondi Labyrinthi. Nice looking run through the opening half dozen corners. 800s ahead of our current leader, Kim Ji-soo of Korea. There was only 100th between them in Heat 1. 900s building that advantage. Decent exit, little rub on the wall. Not too much time lost, down into Tofano. Out of Ampezzo. And then through, across the line, 1300s up, 57.10. That's an improvement of near quarter of a second. There's Alexander Auer, one of the skeleton coaches for the German team. Just saw his brother, younger brother Florian, sliding for Austria, their home country. Flo became a dad in the summer. Alex with 3 kids now. That apparently is enough, he says. Well, better second heat from Felix Kaisinger. It's not going to get him into the medals, but it might help him climb the order a little. That's a good-looking exit. No drama there. Takes the tap, gets on with it. All right, Kaisi, the young Bavarian. He'll be as disappointed as the rest of us that we're not getting to get to Koenigsee this season. Hopefully the track will be up and running again by next year. Next up, Christopher Groothair, our reigning Olympic champion, struggling with a muscle tear at the moment. And he will be desperately nursing that to try and keep himself healthy for February. 4:84, 600s quicker than his first start. And sometimes you're a bit tentative in the first run, and then actually if it felt okay, well, we'll just give it a little bit more. What you can't do is aggravate the injury. We've got 4 World Cup races in 5 weeks before Christmas and 3 in 3 weeks right in the beginning of January. So this is not a time to be making an injury worse. 2400s back at the start. He's bringing the gap back down from 4800s to 36. But Kaisi will have the lead, surely. Groothair feels ice really well. His style is superb, but the speed not there, 57.33. He actually outstarted Kaisi in the first heat. And in the second, but slips back behind Kaisi and Kim Ji-soo. The result now will not worry him too much. He knows why he is where he is. It's still all about getting the best out of himself and the sled while trying to remain as healthy as possible. Again, look at the drive lines. Right where he needs to be. No corrections. He was hovering his toes above the ice there, wasn't he? Almost, but didn't go for the steer. And then again, great lines through Cristallo. Well, he needs to get healthier. Next up, Jacob Salisbury from Great Britain, 13th place after the first heat. And Salisbury, an occasional World Cup performer over the last couple of seasons. This is his 10th World Cup start. 30 years old. Made his debut in Beijing, November 2023. So 4:57 first heat, 4:55 in the second. Ties the start record. Just slipping a fraction behind Felix Kaisinger. He had 300s in hand over Kaisi from the first heat. He doubled that with his start. He's not got quite the drive he needs. He's going to slip back a fraction. Jacob Salisbury. Career best of 7th in Sigulda, Latvia last year. Not going to match that. If he's 3rd at the line, it'll be a top 15 run. Slipping away a fraction more. And only the 8th fastest run, 57.55. So he slips down to 6th position with 12 to go. Disappointing second run, 57.29 in the first heat, 57.55. Quarter of a second slower in the second. Little late onto Primo Labyrinthi. Drove it down and then trying to correct what he knew was coming. Big skid. Little late height. All right, there we go. Still a top 20 result. Now then, Axel Jung, bronze medalist in the World Championships in Lake Placid last year. Olympic silver medalist in Beijing 2022. And a man whose career has been plagued over the years by injury. Like Christopher Grodehair, like everybody else, come to that, needs to keep himself healthy and strong. 4:63 getaway in the first heat, 10th fastest start. .460, quicker again. Track holding up, still producing speed in the start. Oh, not comfortable though. Verzi into Cento. Cost him speed. High looping out of Primo Labyrinthi into Secondi. Little tidier at the bottom, but he's lost his advantage over Felix Kaisinger. It was only a few hundredths of a second anyway. And that is drifting away. Fighting his way back in. He's a really good driver of the sled, Axel Jung. Feels the ice well. However on earth it is they do that, he does it. Still in the green. How much does he lead by? 24 hundredths. Wow, the second half of the track was electrifying. 57.25 becomes 56.93, and that is the 5th fastest run of the competition. If he'd put that together in the first heat, he would have been going 5th from the end, not 11th from the end. That's a really good second run from Axel Jung. A little bit more loosey-goosey, little bit less controlling body style on the sled means he had the steers just a fraction better timed. That's good. That could see him move up the order. Again, Patrick Shannon with the sled. Sorry, Patrick. Now, Chu Haifeng, a rookie in the World Cup last year for China. 8 races last year, plus the Worlds. His 9th World Cup start. Only top 10 finish was a 6th place run in Beijing, the season opener, on home ice. 4:57, good start, 4:60 in the first heat, so just 200ths off the start record. Little steer from Cento, Verzi to Cento. Flop out of Primo Labyrinthi. Those are both going to cost him time. Was 600s up, out to 800s, out to a 10th ahead of Axel Jung of Germany. After the first heat, he had 300s in hand over Axel. Again, a little late on the exit. The gap's coming down. Axel was flying at the bottom of the track. Jung fastest at the bottom, 76.4 miles an hour. Don't think we're going to see the same speed from the Chinese slider. Gap's down to 600s. He only had 300s in hand. And he's back, 57.04. Again, ties with Rasmus Johansson of Denmark for the 6th fastest run of the competition. So not only did the track hold up superbly well in the first heat, it is holding up superbly well in the second heat as well. We've had 45, 46 sleds down now, and it is still allowing the athletes to go quicker. Yes, it was cold overnight. Yes, it's not February. It might be warmer. It might be colder then. It is only late November.
Tiny bit high.
But really good work from the track crews, from the organisers. Looking good so far. Axel Jung leads from Chu Haifeng and Felix Kaisinger. That's your top 3 with 10 to go here in Cortina. Well, well, well. Well, Cortina has not failed to impress. Remember from coming here in the early noughties, what a stunning vista this is. The track right in the middle of town. That little building just beyond the track, that's the 360 climbing centre. It's a 4-storey climbing centre. With the brown sides, the wooden sides just going on the right-hand side there, that's the Olympic Stadium. That's where they'll hold the curling. That's where the opening ceremony was in the 56 games. It's now got a roof and 4 sides. Up until 2 years ago, it was a 3-sided open stadium. It's the home to the Cortina ice hockey team as well, who are the national champions. And there is the track. And there, you see what I mean about houses and their proximity to the track? They're literally meters away. All of those buildings around the track were around the original track. So 1956, the start is a little higher up in the woods, over to the left-hand side. Shot a little bit of video there a couple of days ago. We'll be putting that up online during the week. The original 1956 start was then lowered to where the current start is, back in the early 80s. And the track was partially dug up. Well, it was dug up. The sidewalls weren't. It was refrigerated underneath the track only, not in the sidewalls as we do currently. We largely follow the footprint of the original track. Some of the original track still exists. The original Arrivo final corner, a couple of the other corners are still visible around the outside of the track. There's just a couple of little variations in the line, a couple of added corners down at the bottom, Tofano and Ampezzo, but it very much has the spirit of the old Cortina track. First World Cup of the 2025-2026 season. We're in Cortina d'Ampezzo, men's skeleton. 15 sleds in, 10 to go in Heat 2. In the top 10 for Ukraine, Vladislav Heraskevich. Started 24th, 4.78. 4.73, finds 500s. And that will multiply on the way down. He had a really nice looking first heat, and again from Stries through Verzi into the left-hander at Cento. Nice looking run so far. Good exit from Primo Labyrinti. Really nice top section of the track. He's in the red from the start because of his start speed, but he's bringing that back already from 1700s down to 1400s behind Axel Jung. Little toe steer, 1200s. From Belvedere to Bandion. Dropping down into K2. Through Antelau and Cristallo. And then down through the final corners. Good looking run, not quite enough to take it away. 57.15, quicker than his first heat. And quicker than our 9th place run in the first heat. So that is the 10th fastest run down the track, as Axel Jung just went quicker with a 56.93. Actually, it's the 11th fastest because Chu Haifeng of China, who's second, went faster as well with a 57.04. So Vladislav Heraskevich slips a couple of spots. Third with 9 to go. And he was in a little group of 3 athletes covered by just 0.04 of a second. That makes it a one-heat race, doesn't it?
Далі більше. Дякую за підтримку.
So, another good run from Vladislav Heraskevich. Marcus Wyatt then, silver Crystal Globe last year, second in the overall World Cup rankings, and silver medal in the World Championships. Probably his best season on ice to date. Now he needs to go a little better as we head towards the games in February on this track. Let's see what he's got to start. 4:58 first heat, 4:57 in the second. From Verzi to Cento, nice quiet run. Nice looking lines into Primo Labyrinthi. This is a really good top section of the track. 1200s ahead of Axel Jung, becomes 1400s, becomes 1900s. And that clean first part is going to accelerate his progress further down the track. Little bobble there, but still 1800s up. Nice run through Cristallo. Little uphill section on the exit. 800ths of a second, it's going to be close. Axel Jung might have this. He'll be watching the screen intently in the leader's box. He does have this, and Marcus Wyatt slips a couple. In fact, slips 3 places. 57.16 in the first heat, 57.23 in the second. So tiny are the margins in this racing. So the top section was good. The middle section, not too bad. He just didn't have quite the speed he needed down in the final few corners. So little skid on the exit of K2 there. By that stage in Cristallo, he was losing that speed. Natalie Denman there, the head of the skeleton program. Next up, Austin Florian. 4:55 start. Fastest starter in the field with a start record. Now we know that others have gone quicker again. Will he do? And can he push himself further up the order into the top half dozen? 4:51, what a blinding start from Austin Florian. Whoa, little skid though from Stries Fruverzi. Out of Cento. Primo Labyrinthi not having to correct too much. 2600s up at the start, 2900s up. Holds that margin over Axel Jung. This is good from Austin Florian. 2100s up still. Losing a little ground to the German slider. Nice through Antelau and Cristallo. And then down at the bottom, little variation of line there, little wave, that might cost him. It's going to be close, not close enough though. 57.23, exactly the same time, just set by Marcus Wyatt. So he remains 7/800ths ahead of Marcus Wyatt, but he slips a couple of places down to third with 7 to go. It's coming for Austin Florian. It really is. Matt Antoine at the back yelling him away to a new start record. The start is not everything. This is a technically demanding top section.
I don't know, I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Wasn't quite as pretty good as the first heat. Axel Jung still leads.
It was a good run. To be honest.
All right, now then we have a dead heat for 6th position. So Lukas Neidegger, who tied the time of Rasmus Johansson, goes first. So the German, the best of the Germans, tied for 6th. 4.76 first getaway, 4.77, not quite as quick. So Germany lead with Axel Jung. This is Germany's last hope of a top half dozen slipping away. So Jung may well be in the top half dozen at this stage. Now Axel Jung with a 56.93, the 4th fastest run of the competition so far, including all the first heat sliders, might possibly have a shot at a medal, which when he was 12th in the first heat sounded like an awful lot. Neidegger back into the lead. We are going to have a German leader, and it is not going to be Axel Jung, is it? Neidegger really driving the bottom part of this track superbly. How much is the advantage? 1100s, 57.03. All right, so not as quick as Axel, who had a 56.93, a tenth quicker. So he lives on his first heat advantage, but it is a 2-heat race, and that's what it's all about. Lukas, silent David, Neidegger. So Neidegger leads a German 1-2 with 6 to go. I'm just going to consult my notes. Previous best, 6th place in St. Moritz in January this year. And here in Cristallo, nice line, nice and flat, not too much variation. Now, is the jury out about how much you control those oscillations? I think everybody's looking for that flat line. So tied to the 100th. Lukas Neidegger, our current leader, and Rasmus Johansson. And you can see Christian Balder, the Bundestrainer from the German team, helping out with the Dane. He has a German sled, German technology, German coaching. 4.61, another strong start. 400s quicker from Rasmus Johansson. Nice top part of the track from Verzi into Cento. Nice and smooth, building his advantage. Little tap between Primo and Secondi Labyrinthi. 2400s up becomes 2/10. So just slipping a little to Lukas Neidegger. Don't forget they were tied to the 100th at the end of the first heat. 1800s up. The gap is again slightly eroded. Little bit of a first wave there. Clean. Whoa! Now there's trouble. That's going to erase his time. These lower corners. Tofana Ampezzo flops off Ampezzo. And across the line, 1700s back. Only 3rd place. Yes, annoyed with himself. The final corners. Tofano, Ampezzo. Wow. Still a good run, still a good day at the office. He's 3rd with 5 to go. May not yet meet his personal best, but a good day in the office. Those last corners, though, had all got away from him. He was tidier there in the first heat. You saw Tofano, Ampezzo, behind his, inverted commas, teammates, Lukas Neidegger and Axel Jung. Rasmus Johansson 3rd. 5 to go. First of those, China's Chen Wenhao. Chen will be 29 on Saturday next week. World Cup best silver medal performance, 4.58. A couple of hundreds quicker than his first heat. Tidy enough. Little bit of a toast here from Verzi into Cento. little high and a flop off Primo Labyrinthi. And what was a 3/10 advantage will shrink from 3200s to 2300s. It might only be single digits at the next clock. He's working too hard, 1200s up. Chen had a good start, 4:58, but he is losing time all the way down to Lukas Neidegger. Axel Junk in second is 1100s back. He's going to drop behind him. Does he drop behind Rasmus Johansson at the line as well? The Chinese slider is behind Johansson by 200s. So it's Junk behind Neidegger and Rasmus Johansson third as Chen slips to fourth place with 4 to go. Well, right from the start, there were mistakes. Verzi, the second curve, into Cento, the third, and that all compounded in corner 4, Primo Labyrinthi. He was so late on, fell off the end of it. And then further down, dropping out here as well from Cristallo through the chicane. Yeah, not the second heat he needed. Lukas Neidegger, your race leader, with 4 to go. Neidegger already guaranteed to be at least top 5, a personal best in his World Cup career in his 9th race. Sami Meyer, though, European champion last year, 43rd World Cup race. He's looking for a World Cup medal here. 1100s off the lead. This is where we battle for the medals. 4:72 start. He won't be the slowest of the starters in the top 4. 1600s up on Neidegger from 1900s up at the start. 1300s, the gap's coming down. Now Meyer had plenty of speed down at the bottom. He's just a whisker slower than the current leader, but he still has green numbers, and now he's starting to build that speed at the bottom. This is the Austrian glider coming out, coming to the 4. Sami Meyer looking to take the lead, down to nearly 1/10 of a second, but he has the lead at the line by 800s. Mickey Grunberger happy with that, and so he should be. 3 to go. Sami Meyer leads for Austria. Whoa, careful, Sammy. That ice stuff, it's slippery. Nice bottom part of the track from Sami Meyer. Kept his nerve, kept his form, held his speed, and he leads with 3 to go. Don't forget, he was 1100s, not out of third, off the lead. This is a 4-way battle for gold.
Liebe Grüße an alle daheim, danke fürs Anfeuern. So super Saisonstart.
With the Martini liveried helmet, Matt Weston, our World Cup champion last year, our world champion last year, a 2-time world champion. 100 faster than Sami Meyer. Started 4:78 in the first heat, really jogging off tenderly, 4:76. So he is 400 slower at the start than Meyer, so 300s behind him. He's going to have to drive himself into the medals here. I'm not sure I've ever seen Matt Weston start looking so tender. Into the green. 200s in it. Don't forget how quick Meyer was at the bottom of the track. Sami Meyer fastest at the third split. 200s in it. He's doubling his first heat advantage over Sami Meyer. He needs to keep that form. Starting quick or not, Matt Weston still has great driving ability. He's driving himself into the medals first time out. The world champion has the lead, 56.95. Not quite as quick as his first heat, 600 slower, but that's enough to put him in the medals.
Yes.
Martin Struckel's there with him at the bottom. I'm loving the new livery on the helmet.
Yes, we're back. I love race.
All right, in the medals, Matt Weston. Mind you, the last time he raced, he was in the medals as well, with a gold in the World Championships in Lake Placid. So there you go. Well, Beijing was all sorts of horrible as an Olympics for Matt Weston. And he will definitely be looking for more here.
Can't wait to come back in February.
Matt Weston leads, 2 to go. 35 is the number on the chest of Jung Seung-hui, the last starter in the field. His last World Cup race was in Lillehammer last February. Before that, it had been over a year away for surgery and recuperation. Jeff Payne, so pleased with his first heat. Let's see what he can do. 4:65 second start, so still really starting strongly. 12th best start, that speed will come back, but there's no question that his driving was absolutely top-notch in the first heat. 1600s over Matt Weston, down to 1500s. As he comes out of the labyrinth, it's a 10th. This is going to be tight. Matt Weston could have the lead at the end of it. It's down to 400ths of a second. From Antelau into Cristallo, little wavy in Cristallo. Jung drops behind. Sammy Meyer is 1500s back. This might be Jung Seung-hui falling out of the medals. He's slipping back. Only third on the splits. Fourth at the line, 57.28. Sammy Meyer gets a medal. Matt Weston leads with 1 to go. But after so long away, Jung Seung-hui is definitely back. And with a bullet. An important World Cup return. And he will only get better this season as he gets more ice under his runners. Matt Weston, Sammy Meyer, Lucas Nidegger, the top three. And Jung of Korea just slipping out from a medal into fourth place. So much difficulty in this track, not least of which is everybody's lack of familiarity. And so our first heat leader, Yin Cheng of China, looking to add a 4th World Cup win to his tally. 42nd World Cup start. He still doesn't seem like he's been around that long. 29 years old, taps the wall at the start. Before he even gets to Strias, into Verzi. He had a 10th over Matt Weston, started again superbly strongly, 4:58. And this is tidier, 2300ths is the advantage, but it is coming down. For gold, Matt Weston the leader, Yin Cheng on ice. From 1400s up. This is going to be very close at the line. Out of Antelau and Cristallo, 600ths of a second. We might have a dead heat. He had to steer again hard there going to Tofano, through Ampezzo and across the line. Third is bronze. It is victory for Matt Weston. Silver for Sammy Meyer and bronze for Yin Cheng of China. So Yin Cheng, now let's watch the start. Gets thrown out of that left-hand groove, big steer down into the first corner, but he just clips the wall before he even gets to Strias. You heard it as much as saw it, and it pushed him away. Well, that start was enough just probably to cost him the gold medal. And so it is, our world champion, our World Cup champion, who begins the Olympic season with gold on the Olympic track. I'm not going to mention the jinx of winning the pre-Olympic event. Let's just say that's probably a bobsled thing. But Matt Weston begins the season with a bang.
Come back in February.
So there you go, your race winner. Well, when there's 1100s covering the top 4, it's always going to be a bit of a lottery. And that is it. Matt Weston leads the World Cup standings from Sammy Meyer and Yen Cheng. They're the top 3. Lucas Neidegger, a career best in 4th. Jung Seung-Gui 5th. And Axel Jung in 6th position, just ahead of Rasmus Johansson. Chen Wenhao, Chu Haifeng tied for 8th. I hadn't spotted that. And Austin Florian, top 10 and 2 start records. Wow, he's going to have a season, isn't he? I really think he is. Just behind them, Vladislav Heraskevich, Marcus Wyatt tumbled down the order, as did Felix Kaisinger, Kim Ji-soo, ahead of Christopher Grodhair, Lin Chen-wei of China. Mattia Gaspari, the best of the Italians, 17th place. They will need to work hard on improving that before February. And there are the remainder of the top 25. So that is it, the first race of the modern era, version 3, Cortina d'Ampezzo, a huge success. Matt Weston on the left, Sammy Meyer on the right, Yen Cheng, your top 3. So that is it from the men's skeleton competition. We will have the women coming up this afternoon, and that race will get underway at 1400 local, 1300 GMT. And that is, what's that? That's 10 a.m. Eastern. Until then, from everybody here in Cortina, thanks for being with us. Martin Haven will be back with you and the rest of the crew for the women's skeleton season opener. Join us then. Until then, arrivederci. Ciao.
What the hell?
Rolling? Ja. Axel, herzlichen Glückwunsch. Es ist ja ein Rennen, bei dem es ja natürlich um ein gutes Resultat geht, aber natürlich um wichtige Erkenntnisse im Hinblick auf Olympia. Was ist für Sie heute das Bedeutsamste davon?
Ja, dass ich an meiner Sicherheit in der Bahn arbeiten muss. Also es war einfach schlecht in der Bahn, da muss man nichts vormachen. Vor allem der erste Lauf, oben rein die ersten 4 Kurven, das war eigentlich ja, unnötig. Der zweite Lauf war ein bisschen besser, oben noch nicht wirklich gut, aber vor allem unten raus habe ich gut getroffen. War, glaube ich, im zweiten Lauf auch die beste Laufzeit. Und das zeigt